Wrestling fans, if you like what you've seen, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also don't forget to ring that bell.
We are back. It must be Friday night, 7 p.m.
It must be. Here's the two of us. I'm Terry Sullivan. This is Dave Drason, the photographer extraordinaire, manager of all managers.
Jesus, I got to pay him off again.
Maybe through the weekend, don't you? Pardon me. But we are back. Big Time Memories is on the air, and we're back in the dressing room to tell you about some of the things maybe we shouldn't tell you about, maybe things that should have stayed behind the dressing room doors. But now we're going to give you the goods.
Yeah. And what do we, oh God, can I start off with one of these stories? This has been always one of my favorites. It's really titled, It Can't Get Any Worse, because it was a episode that happened with Louis Martinez, Frenchie Martin, myself, and a green rookie named Don Ross.
The muscle guy.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. He had a body like an Adonis, but a brain like a Barbie doll. Mercy's sake. What can I say? But we were going up, we were all working for George Cannon's Superstars of Wrestling. And we were going up to Montreal to film 4 TV shows, 4 tapings. So Montreal's a drive, and it was wintertime.
Now, can I ask you, I'm sorry, are the Superstar shows you're doing the ones that would show on Channel 9 here in Windsor?
Some of them showed on there or on the TV out of Toronto. I forget the network.
Channel 11?
I forgot the network that they were on, but yeah, they were.
Global.
Yeah. And they went all across Canada.
So you were coast to coast. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a Saturday morning, Detroit. All of us meet up downtown Detroit, and we're heading up to Montreal, which should be a 9-10 hour drive.
Ugh.
Yeah, but we left at 10 in the morning, and it was, a nice, good day. By the time we didn't even hit London, which was like an hour and a half out of Detroit, maybe 2 hours. Snow coming. It's like, oh my God. And it was coming down. I mean, fast and furious. This snow was coming. We got to Toronto at 5 o'clock.
Oh, no.
And we left at 10 in the morning.
And how far out from Montreal are you at that point?
Oh, we still had, a good, 5-6 hour drive to go.
Oh, no.
So now we're already 7 hours into a trip because of this snow, which usually should have took us 3.5 hours. And, we'd be on the 401. And the worst was, with the snow blowing, you get these truckers who are going, and they're going faster than you, and they, kick up the snow, and you get a whiteout.
Yeah.
And you're just hoping, you're white knuckle hoping, that you're still on the road.
Right.
So there was times we're doing, from Toronto to Montreal now, we're doing 10, 20 miles an hour, just because of the snow. And there was easily a foot of snow, and as fast as the snow plows would, get rid of it, it'd already start piling back up.
Drifting.
Everything.
Yeah.
It was just a horrible white knuckle ride. So anyway, we get into Montreal at 3 in the morning. We left at 10 in the morning, So now we're, it took us 17 hours to get there,
Jeez.
Which normally should have taken us 10.
Yeah.
So I'm driving. I'm just exhausted. So we find the hotel that the office, Montreal office, paid for our room and stuff. So we go to check in. And the guy behind the desk says, oh, no, we canceled your room. You're late. It's like, whoa, Jesus. Now it's 3 in the morning. We have to be up at 6 to get the TV at 8 in the morning. So it's like, oh, please. He says, well, we don't have a room big enough for the 4 of you. He says, I have one room, and it's a single room with one double bed. And it's like, yeah, we'll take it. It's like, let's, get like 3 hours shut-eye, the best we can. So anyway, what we did, we get into the room. So it's like we took the mattress off and we put it on the floor. And Louis Martinez and Don Ross are going to sleep on the, mattress. And me and Frenchie Martin will sleep on the box spring. Well, the box spring was none too comfortable. It was like, we said, oh my God. So this is going to be a rough, 3-hour sleep if we get that. But then I notice over by, the lamp and the side table, remember those little coin boxes that you could put a quarter in?
Oh, the massage thing?
Yeah, the bed would vibrate and it's a bed
I
massage.
have a little experience with that.
So it's like, wow, hey, I got a couple quarters, no sense having that thing on for 5 minutes. Let's, go for broke. So I put 50 cents into this thing, hoping that, we can get it a little massage, and maybe help us fall asleep. Put the 50 cents in, me and Frenchie lay down. Nothing. Just nothing. That darn thing's broke. And it ate my 50 cents. So I'm a little ticked. So, Jesus, let's get some shut-eye. So it's like on that box spring, it's just no way to get comfortable. But within a few minutes, because we were all tired, we fell asleep. And I'd say it couldn't have been 20 minutes, half hour later. Next thing we know, me and Frenchie Martin got jolted out of the bed. Just like the box spring started. The 50 cents finally kicked in. Really, we both fell off the sides of the bed. Frenchie rolls over toward the mattress where Louie and Don Ross were, and he bumps into Louie, and Louie's like, what's going on? And, it's like, and the bed is like, Louie, come here. And we all three of us laid on top of this bed because it was still vibrating and stuff. Now we're laughing, hysterical like schoolgirls. We just couldn't stop laughing. Next thing we hear is on the wall. The people next to us, I guess we woke them up, and we still couldn't stop laughing. But then the thing finally stopped. Louis went and, laid down on the mattress. Me and Frenchie Martin, we ended up getting a couple hours sleep. So the office calls, phone rings, and, 6 o'clock wake-up call. First one up off the mat. Well, the first thing was when that, all the, bouncing around's going on. Don Ross still sleeping. Didn't even wake him up. So anyway, 6 o'clock, we get the wake-up call. First one up, Don Ross. Boom, into the shower. Now it's like, hey, come on, get out of that shower already. It seems like he was in there for like a half hour. It wasn't, but it just seemed like that. So anyway, he comes out and he's drying off and he's got 2 towels. It's like, he's got 2 towels.
No.
And then it's like, wait a minute. When we went in the bathroom, when we were going to bed, there was only 2 towels. So we said, "Don't you stupid?" And he goes, "Whoa, well here, you guys could dry off on one of the towels each." And it's like, are you dumb? So anyway, Louis takes a shower, dries off on a damp towel. Frenchie Martin goes off, dries off on a damp towel. I'm the last one in. So now there's nothing left for me to dry off. So I ended up using one of those 6-inch by 6-inch washcloths, took my shower, and dried off. So anyway, now we go to the TV studio. So we were there at like 8 in the morning. And, it was a slow drive because now there's like 14 inches of snow on the road. And, and you're going on a freeway and side streets to get to this TV studio. And it was a slow go, but we got there. So now it's 8 in the morning. And we're going to do 4 TV tapings, 4 one-hour tapings. So anyway, I was really excited because George Cannon, when he's there, he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to have you managing Chris Colt today." And it's like, that's when he was doing his crazy Chris Colt thing and,
Glam
the
rocker.
the rockin' stuff. And I had my rock and roll clothes and the rock and roll, talk that I would do for the promos and stuff. So it's like, I'm really excited. So Chris Colt comes in and, we sit down and we're going to talk. And, we reintroduced ourselves because I knew him before. And I said, "Yeah, George is going to have you manage me, or I'm going to manage you today." And he gives me the look like, So he gets up, comes back, and, we start talking again and junk, and, no big deal. The next thing I do, George Cannon comes in, says, Dave, come here. Says, you're not going to manage Colt. I was like, what? I was looking forward to this. I thought our stuff would have really, he says, he doesn't want you to interfere in any of the gimmicks that he's doing. He can cut his own promo. He doesn't want you butting in on his rock kind of thing. It's like, okay. So he says, I'm going to have you manage the Scorpions. And it's like, mass tag team, big, massive guys, and, go. Man, I was excited about that too. And I got really excited because before the TV tapings happened, Tony Lanza was there.
Oh, yeah.
One of the greatest wrestling photographers of all time.
Yeah.
So Tony Lanza took a bunch, I'd say at least 10 to 20 photographs of us, myself with the Scorpions, and they had these big black robes, and oh God, I just couldn't wait, to see those photographs, which still to this day, like 40 years later, I still haven't seen the photographs. I don't know what happened to them. I never got them from him, and, I'm sorry, I just never got to see those. So anyway, I managed them on the first show, the second show, the third show, and, I cut a promo with George and stuff like that, and, everything's fine. Frenchie has his matches. Don Ross, he's like the enhancement talent, body, but, they weren't putting him over. So anyway, on the fourth taping, it was like one of my things that I always did for George's shows, at least his TV. You've got the audience sitting there for 4 hours, if not longer, and it's like, they're sitting on their hands at times. What can you do to bring the fans, up off their feet and stuff? And it's like what I usually did. I got involved at the finish of the match. I'm going to, go in there, take some bumps, pop the crowd. And that's what happened. I interfered. I don't know who we were going against. The Scorpions got thrown out of the ring. Now these guys are tossing me around like a rag doll. Boom, boom, boom. I'm taking bumps, body slams, and everything. And then they left me there for dead. So the Scorpions finally come to, and they drag me out of the ring, from underneath the bottom rope. And now we have to go do a promo with George Cannon. So it's just like a table like this. George is sitting there with Milt the Bruskin, and the Scorpions, they pick me up and they put me in the seat in between George, and I'm, I wasn't, I'm just playing, so I'm acting groggy and everything like this, and George Cannon starts asking me questions, and I'm incoherent answering these questions. It's like, did you see I had to get into that ring and show those guys, and it's like George is just laughing. He is just laughing uncontrollably, with every question that he's asking me. So finally, George, one of his, always sayings, what it takes to be a great wrestler. Youth, he starts, he goes, youth, speed, science, and then I kick in. And I'm finishing, his thing, and he just cracks up and he falls off his chair. Oh, so no. George falls off his chair. Now the Scorpions pick me up and take me off the set, and then it's like we get back to the dressing room, and the boys and now are, oh, great, that was great, great bums, great interview. It's like, so that was one of my highlights of, working that show. Yeah. So now, that was on the fourth tape. The very last match on the fourth taping was Frenchie Martin against Don Ross. It's like, oh boy. So anyway, Frenchie's going over, it's going to be a short, 10-minute, Broadway kind of thing. So anyway, Frenchie's, got his, doing his stuff. And at one point, Don Ross is going to, make the comeback before the finish. So he's making his comeback and he gets too excited. He's still green. He's like the jolly green jabroni. It's like he just got too excited. He doesn't have the experience. So he takes and he throws Frenchie, over the top rope, like awkwardly. Usually you whip the guy and, let the guy hook and, he'll go over on his own. Know what he's doing. No, Ross takes him and he right at the rope throws him over. Well, he threw Frenchie over, and Frenchie lands on one of the big, thick television camera cables.
Oh, yeah.
Breaks his ankle.
Oh, no.
So it's like, he can't get up, he can't walk, so the referee has no thing to do but count him out. Counted him out of the ring.
Yeah.
So Don Ross gets his hand raised. Now he's out on the top rope with the fans and going nuts, and it's like, oh boy, it wasn't supposed to happen that way, but that's the way it was. So anyway, we get done with the TV tapings about 3:00. Now it's me, Louie, Don Ross, and Frenchie Martin with a broken ankle.
Yeah.
We got to drive home.
Oh, jeez.
So it's 3 p.m.
But they didn't have hospitals in Montreal?
They did, but we weren't going to no hospital. We wanted to get home because me and both Frenchie Martin, I worked at AT&T and he worked at Ford's.
Oh, gotcha.
And this is Sunday. We have to be at work on Monday.
Got you, yeah.
So 3 p.m, we take off. And Louis Martinez says to me, hey, you drove all the way up here. I'll drive home. It's like, oh, okay, great. Well, this was my first foray of letting Louis Martinez drive my car or be in a car with him driving any car. I had no idea. Other guys knew. Nobody ever clued me in. Louis has a propensity to fall asleep at the wheel.
Oh, no. Jeez.
So anyway, we leave Montreal heading home, and he's driving. And it's still snowing.
Ew.
So now there's at least 18 inches of snow. The trucks would come, but then, it'd blow all the way back, and still snow's coming down. At one point, Louie's like, I can't see, because sometimes the trucks would come by, a whiteout, and even with the snow's coming down sideways now. And it's hitting the windshield, and it's like mesmerizing. So anyway, Louie says, I can't see. So it's like, I'm in the front seat, in the passenger seat. Don Ross and Frenchie are in the back, and we've got our windows rolled down, and we've got our heads outside the car to tell Louis where the tracks are in the road.
God.
And we tell him, stay left, stay right. So we did that for a while.
Ugh.
Then all of a sudden, it's like, things are going okay, and, we can see, we got the windows up, we got the heater cranking. And the next thing we know, we come to a dead stop because Louis fell asleep. And now we're in the middle medium on the 401, in between the two sides.
The medium, which hadn't been plowed?
Exactly.
Oh, no.
So now we're in the middle, just in deep snow. Oh, now what do we do? And we're about 50 feet off the road. It's like,
oh,
Jesus, Pete, he must have really fell asleep.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happens, I get in the driver's side, and I'm going to steer. Louis gets out, Frenchie gets out, and Don Ross gets out. Now, Frenchie still got that broken ankle, but they're going to rock the car to get it back onto the track so I can, move and get back out on the freeway.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can hear it, pushing and pushing. Well, nothing's happening. Then the next thing I hear is like, wham, like a big smack. And it's like, I turn around and look and I get out of the car. Well, Louis Martinez smacked Don Ross. I mean, just chest smacked them big time.
Oh, no.
Because Louis was pushing at one end, Frenchie Martin is rocking the car at the other end, and here in the middle, Don Ross in the moonlight, posing, looking up at the moon. So he wasn't help. So anyway, Louis smacks him. He goes, what? He says, push. And he goes, you want me to push? And Louis smacked him again.
Ooh.
So then it's like, well, we couldn't get out. Luckily, a trucker was going by and saw, that we were stuck. We saw our taillights and we were in the medium. If you're in the medium on the 401 in deep snow, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So anyway, this trucker comes by and he says, yeah, I've got a chain. I'll hook you up and I'll pull you back onto the road. And it's like he did, thank God, because, this is all pre-cell phone days. We would have sat there and, who knows what had happened. So he pulls us back on the 401. And to thank him, we pulled some money together. I guess we pulled together like $50, and gave it to this trucker. So now, now it's like, we're still driving and we get a little past Toronto and it's taken us almost forever. So it's like 7 a.m. So this is from 3 p.m, to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
We're just on the other side of Toronto. And at one point, cop cars everywhere making us get off. They closed the 401.
Oh, no.
So now we're at a rest area of a Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
And just sitting there, can't do nothing. It's like,
So much for work.
Yeah. So I end up calling in my work, collect, because, and then Frenchie Martin ended up calling in too to say, hey, I can't make it to work. We're stuck on the 401, So anyway, we ended up getting back Monday at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Wow.
23 hours from the time that we left, Montreal, 23 hours to get back home. And poor Frenchie couldn't go to work the next day because now he had to go to the hospital and have his,
Oh, yeah, sure.
foot taken care of.
Yeah.
So from that day on, I swore I would never drive to Toronto, Montreal, anywhere in the snow. So as I said, all through this, you don't think it can get any worse. It can get worse.
Yeah.
We got our checks from the Montreal office. All of them bounced.
No.
Yeah. And I've got a picture to show fans here, the canceled check, that non-sufficient funds.
Who was running the show? It wasn't George Cannon, was
Yvonne Massey, was the guy who brought us in and, from the Montreal and paid us and stuff.
Geez, that's another thing that's pretty much a constant in wrestling. You really have to look out for getting your money.
So that's my Montreal trip from hell. It can't get any worse story.
Jeez. Well, a little bit of a brighter note, I guess. I want to talk a little bit about Sabu.
Yeah.
He's not, strictly speaking, in the year range that we deal with, nor was he ever in big time wrestling, because big time wrestling was out of business by the time he came around. But he is such an extension of the Sheik and carrying on the Sheik's legacy the way he does, and I think he deserves some accolades for the way he has just literally destroyed his body in order to entertain the fans. And he is the second coming of the Sheik, or as one of his earlier names, asked Terry S.R., Sheik's Revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because he was on shows when I was managing Sheik.
Yeah,
and he was,
right.
Undercard guy, but learning his craft.
Yeah.
But wasn't what does he know, that the homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, he was hardcore. I mean,
yeah.
He took the Sheik to extreme.
Yeah, and he wouldn't take any from promoters, and that's a kiss of death. Basically, they expect that you're going to do what they tell you, and that you're not going to give them undue hassle about it, and that's just not Sabu. And then, of course, the first thing they want to do when they bring him in, like a WCW, is tone him down. And that's the same thing Sam Muchnick wanted to do with the Sheik, is tone him down. Well, no, that's not how we get over with our thing. We stand apart and are separated from the rest of the pack because of these unique, crazy things that we do, the jackass type stunts and everything like that. But, and the funny thing is, I have never met Sabu.
What?
Never met him. You know, I was gone during the decade of the 90s, basically, and most of the 2000s I wasn't doing wrestling, so that's when Sabu was at his height. I saw him one time in Toledo. He was setting up the ring for the Sheik in a TV studio there in Toledo, but I never even met him. I would like to, I'd love to sit down and talk to him. But, you know, talk about accomplishments. He has wrestled for all the major groups, WWF, WCW, ECW. Of course, that's his promotion.
Yeah.
Without Sabu, what would ECW have been? Japan, I mean, just made tremendous inroads in Japan, became such a superstar over there. And so much of this he did on his own with no regard for his body. And that's coming back to haunt him these days in a big way. His health isn't that great. But I'm sure a lot of the people out there are aware of Sabu and probably aware of Super Genie. Melissa Coates, the beautiful blonde lady that accompanied him, his business manager, basically, his girlfriend, and accompanied him wherever he went. Well, she had some past problems also over the last couple of years, and she did pass away very tragically. So Sabu's understandably having a real rough time dealing with that. And not only that, but the fact that he has probably wrestled his last match.
Yeah.
The body just can't take anymore. He needs all these surgeries, and so things have been better in his life. So, you know, keep him in your thoughts, and you know, he really deserves a lot of props because he was one of a kind.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Sheik reincarnated.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, there was so many other Sheik imitators out there, but you know, could never duplicate him. But
took the
Sabu came as close as you're ever going to get.
Oh yeah, he took the Sheik and really made the Sheik extreme.
Yeah. You know, especially in Japan, those two would go there. Ooh, man. Yeah. And, you know, he accompanied his uncle there and, you know, took care of him. And because the Sheik was getting up in age also. Yeah. And, you know, it was good to have his nephew with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You know, God, I just told the Montreal story. You know, it can't get any worse. Let me lighten it up a little bit. Let me tell you a story about this time I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. When we had our UWA promotion, you know, I was working all the shows. And at one point, Sonny King came back home to Detroit because he was working in Charlotte, North Carolina, but his home base was in Detroit. And he met me at the Tam O'Shanter one night. Mm-hmm. He says, hey, why don't you come to the Crockett-tory where I'm working? Let me try to help you get a managing job there. And it's like, wow, now that would be an opportunity. So anyway, I had brought a bunch of pictures and stuff, and, you know, he's going to set up a meeting with George Scott, who was the booker for there. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I ended up going there, spending, you know, a couple months with Sonny, but, you know, they told me they weren't using any managers at that time, and, you know, thanks for the offer, But anyway, you know, I stayed with Sonny. He says, you could stay with me, you know, as long as you want. So anyway, there was another promotion, the IWA, the Eddie Einhorn promotion, that was, you know, running opposition everywhere that they went. Yeah. And they were coming to Charlotte. So I went with Sonny King on a Saturday to one of his shows that he was, I think it might have been Spartanburg, and then in Charlotte, the IWA was running. So we met up after with some of the guys from the IWA. And Sonny invited him over to his house because we both had, you know, Sunday off. So Sonny says, come on over for a barbecue. You know, we're going to have some fun. So it was Ernie Ladd, Bruce Swayze, Sonny King, myself, and Eric the Red.
Oh, Eric.
So they came over the house early, or the apartment. Sonny had an apartment there at the time. So before, you know, we're going to barbecue and stuff, and they go, hey, why don't we go to the theater? Let's go see this movie, Walking Tall. It's supposed to be about this former wrestler, Buford Pusser. So it's, wrestling guys, let's go see, you know. So anyway, we did. So we went to the movie, and I don't know about the patrons who sat behind Ernie Ladd and Eric the Red, you know, and Sonny. Sonny was a big guy too, so I feel sorry for them. But we saw the movie, we enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So we came back to Sonny's apartment, and we're hanging out in the back, and those guys are drinking beers, and I didn't drink or anything at that time, so I'm probably sipping on a Sprite or something like that. So anyway, we're out in the back talking and stuff, and Sonny's getting the barbecue ready. And Ernie Ladd looks and he says, "Oh, a basketball." And he goes, "Hey, you shoot hoops?" And at the time, I had just went to Macomb College and University of Detroit, and I played some basketball. So it's like, yeah, I shoot some hoops. So it's like, I'm thinking, yeah, this football player, I'm going to show Ernie Ladd how to shoot some hoops. So anyway, there's a basketball court not far away, so we go over there. So I'm shooting around, pass the ball to, Ernie, and he shoots, and then it's like, Jesus, Pete, this guy's getting lucky, So then he's at the foul line. He says, "Let me shoot some free throws." I swear to God, 1, 2, 3. He shot like 15 to 20 in a row.
What do you got, a ringer?
It's like, what the heck is going on here? And it's like, I go, "Man, you're pretty good." He says, "Yeah, a lot of people don't know, but the big cat, I didn't go to college on a football scholarship. I went on a basketball scholarship."
Wow.
It's like, oh, Jesus. So we ended up playing horse. You just imitate the shot that they.
Yeah.
Oh, he wiped me bad. I was just embarrassed.
Wow.
But to be embarrassed by Ernie Ladd, oh man, that's
a good story to tell.
I take it,
Yeah.
So anyway, after crawling back to Sonny's place with my tail between my legs, and with the basketball in hand. We get back and the guys are, chatting it up and having some beers and, stuff. And then Eric the Red goes, "Hey, is that a soccer ball?"
What?
Soccer ball. So it's like I get the soccer ball and I give it to Eric the Red, and now he puts on a frickin' performance.
Oh,
he's from Denmark.
Yeah.
And in Denmark, everybody, grows up playing soccer.
Yeah.
Here, Eric the Red, bouncing it off one toe, bouncing it off the other toe, back and forth, up, off his head, boom, boom, boom. And it's like me and Bruce Swayze and Ladd and Sonny King are standing there. It's like, we couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it's like, Eric the Red's real name was Ib Hansen. And I think his son up in Canada still watches our show. So anyway, we got the performance from, Eric the Red.
Yeah.
So now it's like Sonny King, he's got the barbecue going. We're eating ribs and chicken and, everything. And just a wonderful time we had that day. Great guys and good friends. Sonny King's still alive. Yeah. Unfortunately, Eric the Red passed away. He got hit by a motor car. Bruce Swayze is still alive, doing well, looks great. Ernie Ladd, unfortunately, passed away. And fortunately, I'm still here too to tell the story.
Yeah. Speaking of stories, I said a couple of weeks ago on the first Dressing Room Confidential of the year that I had a Dr. Jerry Graham story.
Oh boy.
That I was going to tell, and I will tell that story. This is a true story. It's not necessarily a funny story. It's sort of a really sad story in a way. It's sort of a poignant story, but Dr. Jerry Graham was not a guy without problems. Most of the time, he had more than his share of problems. Jerry was Vince McMahon with the WWE. Jerry was Vince's favorite wrestler when he was a kid. Mm-hmm. And Vince even dyed his hair blonde and would ride around with Jerry in Jerry's red convertible Cadillac in New York City. And Vince's father wasn't too happy about that, but it continued for a while. I mean, Jerry's a kind of a guy, at this point in time, Jerry is selling out Madison Square Garden. If he's not on the main event, he's probably in the semifinal. He's heading for Sardi's, the big entertainment venue in New York City. He's lighting his cigars with $100 bills.
Yep.
Seriously. And this was a regular day in the life of Dr. Jerry Graham. Superstar Billy Graham is not Jerry's real brother, but he had spent a lot of time with Jerry. In fact, at one time he was sort of Jerry's keeper.
Yeah.
It was his job to keep Jerry out of trouble. But in Superstar's memoir, Tangled Ropes, he wrote, "There was something inside the good doctor, maybe even a genetic malformation that continuously forced him to sabotage himself. Sooner or later, you sensed that he was going to self-destruct." Because every chance that Jerry got along the road, he would get sober and come back and say, I'm going to do this and do that. It's going to be wonderful. He'd get a chance, and then he'd screw it up again.
Yeah, fall off the wagon.
On the sauce, yeah. But so Jerry was having a lot of issues. But back in 1969, his mother, Mary, was in a hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, and she was very ill. No hope was really held out for her. And Jerry was on his way and called the doctor and was a little bit out of his mind and promised the doctor that if anything were to happen to his mother, that he would take care of the doctor. Later that day, she died. Jerry showed up at the hospital, had his 12-year-old son in tow, and who knows what fueled what was to come, his grief, whether there was alcohol on board or, hey, the guy's mother died, all right? But what happened from here had to be seen to be believed. He walked into the hospital, had a hunting knife and a sawed-off shotgun. He was headed for his mother's room. He shoved down a nurse. He tossed a security guard across a hallway. The guy was quoted as saying later, "He threw me like I was a potato chip." Jerry found his mother's body, picked up his mother's body in one arm. He's got the knife and the sawed-off shotgun in the other arm, and Jerry is going to leave the hospital with his dead mother over his shoulder. Another security guard came up, tried to stop him. He was knocked aside. Soon after, it was basically the SWAT team. All the police officers showed up. They shut down the hospital. They blocked off streets around the hospital because here's Jerry, this immense professional wrestler with his mother over his shoulder. They eventually talked him down. They talked him into putting her down. And strangely enough, he was not officially charged for his actions, and as you might believe, one of the reasons he wasn't charged was because he agreed to seek treatment at the Arizona State Mental Facility. He was destitute at the time. He was totally broke, which was another pretty much constant with Jerry Graham. He'd make a little money and then he'd blow it, usually on alcohol.
Yep.
But anyway, Mom has gone. He's got no money, but he knows he's been sending his mother little bits of money through some very successful years and always made it a point to take care of her. But then he found out that she left her entire life savings, $500,000, to a church. Oh. She was hornswoggled by some church. They had all her money. There was nothing Jerry could do to get it back because at the time she was in her right mind. There was nothing apparently illegal about it. So yeah, Jerry took some months off, and after a while, here he turns up again.
Yeah.
Same old Jerry. But he was, it was just it. Every time he got a 2 steps or 1 step ahead, it was 2 steps back.
Yeah, the stories with,
what a
great
character.
Story. Yeah, he was a character, and it's like
that's easily documented. I mean, you Google it, and you'll even. I've got the picture. It's not a very good picture, but it shows the 6 police officers trying to talk some sense into him.
Well, yeah, if you could find that picture, we'd have to show that to our fans. And,
Yeah.
you know, I've got tons of Jerry Graham photos, so I'll throw a few up here while you're talking about it.
Okay.
But what a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I talk about, somebody asked me, one of the, fans, about my managing career.
Yeah.
And they always know me as SuperMouth Dave Drason.
Mm-hmm.
But what a lot of fans don't know is that I did 3 shows for the Sheik when the Sheik was, letting me, get in the business in a way. And just because I was the photographer for Big Time Wrestling, well, I couldn't go out there and manage as, myself or whatever name they were going to give me, because everybody knows, I was the photographer. It's like, what the heck is he doing all of a sudden being a manager?
Mm-hmm.
So what he did, he put me under a mask. And he had me named the Scholar. I don't know where he came up with that name, but I was the Scholar.
Yeah.
And my very first night of working, October 9th, 1974, day before my 20th birthday.
Oh.
So I managed Ben Justice in the Pontiac, Michigan, and we went against Tony Marino. And the very first thing, I came out with Ben Justice and these rock and roll clothes and stuff, and I had an atomizer, spraying Ben down, making him beautiful as he should be. And at the start of the match, Tony Marino, he comes over by me and is going to give me the business, and I took the atomizer and, sprayed him in the eyes, and, that's how the match started. And that's how it started 3 times in a row, because the next night I was in Battle Creek, and the third night I was in Kalamazoo. And me and Ben always rode together. It's at a time when Ben had a van. And that was when they were doing that conversion van stuff.
Right,
putting like sofas in the back and putting carpeting in
Bobo
and big
had
stairs.
one, Brooks. Yeah.
So, I rode with Ben to all the shows. He charged me trans every day, so it was usually like $15 in trans. Yeah. And for all 3 shows, I got paid $15 a show. But on the final show in Kalamazoo, this was kind of funny in a way that, they're introducing us, from, Washington, D.C., weighing at 200, beautiful Ben Justice. And he is accompanied by his manager, the Scholar. And out of the bleachers, or up in the back part of the arena, I hear, "Hey, Brzezinski," which is my really last name. And it's like, oh, God. And I couldn't react to it, of course, but oh, my God, that thing bellowed out.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, boy.
Well, this was at a time when Dave was about 6'4" and
6'2",
56 pounds.
6'2", 140.
He tended to stand out.
Yeah, so at that time, people say, "Hey, what are you going to do when you grow up?" It's like, I'm going to gain about 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Yeah, there you go.
So that was my first 3 nights as a manager, and the only time I ever used the Scholar name. And then from that time on, I was known as Dave Drason.
Yeah.
At first, now here's another one. I was first known as Superstar Dave Drason.
Were you?
Yeah, and I took that nickname from Superstar Billy Graham.
Oh, really?
I had never met him,
I'll be
but
darned.
when he was in the magazines and stuff, he's wearing the tie-dye and, really cool and muscle-bound. I said, man, I want to be a superstar too. So I took the name Superstar. And it wasn't until I was working for George Cannon's Superstars of Wrestling, and Milt Abruskin, who was his color commentator, said, he's no superstar. He's more of a SuperMouth. Oh. And that name stuck from that day on.
There you go. Interesting.
Now, we've, talked about, so many managers and stuff, and one of our good friends, he's got to be in the top 3 of managers of all time. Younger generation won't understand it. He's not even in their name and not even on their radar. But Abdullah Farouk, the Grand Wizard, you've got a thing about, Ernie Roth before he was a manager, he was a commentator like you.
Yeah, well, he was a promoter. He had 3 or 4 different incarnations as a manager, Armstrong K and Mr. Clean.
Yeah.
But anyway, he started off as a commentator. And what I've got to show you, which is a clip, which I think is tremendously interesting because I had never heard Ernie Roth commentate before, and I suspect probably a lot of you have never heard it either, but a lot more of us have heard Abdullah Farouk or the Grand Wizard. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to listen to Ernie, get an idea of what he sounded like as a commentator, and guess who the people in the ring are? Number 1 is our buddy Porky Pig.
Yeah, Mike Lauren.
Mike Lauren.
Barefoot.
Without his pig, he's barefoot. His opponent is Tokyo Joe.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big barrel-chested guy from Japan, obviously, but he had a manager. And the manager is the guy we talk about so much. The manager is Tokyo Tom, better known as Kabuki.
Yeah.
So what you're going to see here is just a couple of minutes just to let you hear what Ernie sounds like and get a look at Mike Lauren and Kabuki from about 50 years ago. So this is from Cleveland.
Joe has that one arm underneath the rope, and that is enough to have the hold broken. And Mike Lauren went after Tokyo Tom with that time, kicking at him through the rope.
So that was pretty interesting.
Oh, wow,
huh?
what a great piece. Not a great match, but, to see, Kabuki in there again, Tokyo Joe, who was really big, for, a long time.
Yeah.
And, our good buddy Mike Lauren, before he, morphed into Porky.
And some people will say, well, that wasn't Ernie Roth because they remember Ernie Roth as the sarcastic. Well, no, that was a character.
Yeah.
This is Ernie Roth. The character is the commentator, so it's very, very different, but it is Ernie.
Yeah, because he also commentated, I believe, in Calgary at one time. Buffalo, didn't he do that? Then wasn't he a weatherman or something also down in Dayton? Canton, Ohio?
That's possible.
Yeah, so, I mean, he was Ernie Roth as Ernie Roth, before he was like the character, that we all know and love.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And finally, let me tell this one last story real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
At one point in time, I was invited down by Juan Hernandez, who was a former wrestler and judo champion. I met him at the CAC in Vegas one year. And he
tell the people what the CAC is.
Cauliflower Alley Club, which is a group formed many years ago that it's all wrestlers and boxers and stunt people. They would get together. No fans were allowed back then. Not until the probably early 2000s, late 90s did they allow fans to come. So that was the group. Okay. So anyway, I met him, and he says, I would like you to come in as a guest of mine, celebrity guest, for my golf tournament. And it was called the Alicia's House. It was his niece, I believe, or granddaughter, who at the age of 4 or 6 died of cancer. So, and her thing was, as a young child, was to feed the homeless. Oh. She was always wanting to, feed, the people who were less fortunate. So he started this food pantry called Alicia's House. And once a year, they would have a big golf tournament where fans can come and, foursomes would play golf. And then they had a lot of wrestling material that would be up for auction. Then they had a banquet and, guys like myself. And they'd always have celebrities, like they would have, Paul Christie and Bunny Love came in, Buddy Roberts, Harley Race, Meadowlark Lemon, so many. There was a famous baseball player, Chicago Cub players, a bunch of sports stars would always come in. So anyway, that first year, I was one of the few wrestling guys who played golf. So I played with a foursome. They, had me as, one of their teammates and stuff. And so I'm playing golf. So the other wrestlers would be in golf carts going around the golf course, intermittently and, passing out, sodas and waters and stuff and talking to the fans and things. And, here comes a golf cart, toward us. And it's Paul Christie, Buddy Roberts, and his wife, Paul Christie's wife, Miss Bunny Love. Mm-hmm. So we're talking and stuff, and it's like, oh, my turn to tee off. So I get up, tee it up, boom! I knock one out there, good 250, 275 yards straight out there. Paul Christie goes, wow, you're a good golfer. I'm okay. I got a lucky shot there. I go, do you golf? And he goes, no. I says, come on, tee one up and hit one. And he was getting up in age at that time. It was hard for him to move around. So I tee it up and, give him one of my clubs, and he swings like 3 times. And he didn't even hit the ball. The ball's still on the tee. So it's like, I'm going to help you out. So I lay down on the ground, all the way on my back. I take a golf tee and I put it in my mouth, and I take the ball and I put it up there like this. Oh, no. And I says, go ahead, take a shot now. And he didn't, but I have a photo of Paul Christie trying to hit the golf ball out of my mouth, and Buddy Roberts standing next to us, laughing his behind off.
It's probably your lucky day that he didn't try to hit you.
So over the years, I kept on going down as a celebrity, to golf and participate and, help him, make money, for the food pantry. So it became a tradition every year after that Harley race. Hey, I want a picture of teeing off with you on the ground and, with the tee and ball in my mouth. Then it was Meadowlark Lemon and so many other guys. And it's like I was known as the, human golf tee for years to come. And, pictures to prove it here.
Cool. Hey, you know what? I think we about exhausted our limit on Dressing Room Confidential stories for this go-around.
Is Rox TV out of money again?
Yeah,
hey,
well,
come up with some money. We need more time here.
Yeah.
But, oh, man,
yeah,
another great episode. Great talking to you again.
A lot of fun, as always, and much more to come. Stay with us. More big-time memories coming your way real soon.
Well, but you can't do that yet. We always go out with an outro.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Let me pick a guy that we sort of talked about today.
Okay.
Terry, take us out.
The Spaceman Frank Hickey
No,
again?
we didn't talk about the Spaceman. Yeah. How about doing an outro on the Big Cat? Ernie Ladd.
Big Cat Ernie Ladd.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Where did we introduce him from? Houston or
Texas.
Kansas City?
Houston, Texas.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, from Houston, Texas, he weighs 315 pounds. Big number 99, Ernie the Cat Ladd.